Beginning, a cold warship and a stranger in the dark. The frigate Dauntless drifted through the empty void like a lonely sentinel, her hull battered from skirmishes along the border. Inside, the corridors hummed with the low vibration of engines and the metallic tang of recycled air. Corporal Ethan Vance was no stranger to isolation. Assigned to a long-range patrol, he had endured months of monotony broken only by sudden bursts of combat. But after the most recent battle, something had changed. They had taken prisoners, alien survivors from the crashed vessel they had been forced to disable. The aliens were called the Veari, a race known for their crystalline skin patterns, large luminous eyes, and a strange mix of elegance and ferocity. Most were kept under guarded quarters, but one had been separated due to her condition. Her name was Lyra. She was younger than most of her kin, her body marked with faint crystalline ridges along her arms. Though she carried herself with dignity, the medics said she was fragile, injured, dehydrated, and plagued with night terrors. Ethan first noticed her in the mess hall, her frame hunched, untouched food before her. She glanced at him with a flicker of something between fear and curiosity. Humans and Veari had fought bitter wars, and the silence between them carried the weight of generations. That night, while Ethan tried to sleep in his cramped quarters, the hiss of his door startled him awake. He blinked, half reaching for his sidearm before realizing who stood there. Lyra. Her voice, soft but carrying the strange cadence of her species, broke the silence. "Can I sleep beside you tonight, human?" The words sent a shiver down Ethan's spine, not from fear, but from the sheer vulnerability in her tone. Middle, the night of truths. At first, Ethan thought it must be a trick, or perhaps a mistranslation. But Lyra's wide, glowing eyes betrayed no deception, only exhaustion and something deeper, something raw. I can't sleep in that place," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Every time I close my eyes, I hear the screams. I see the fire. Your kind did not kill me, yet the silence of your ship is worse than death." Ethan hesitated. Fraternizing with a prisoner, even one housed separately, was against protocol. But there was something undeniable in her words, a plea that pierced through uniform regulations and political divisions. "All right," he said, moving aside. "But just for tonight." Lyra entered cautiously, folding her limbs with graceful precision. She did not climb into his narrow bunk immediately. Instead, she studied the room, the strange human posters on the wall, remnants of Earth culture Ethan kept for comfort. "Your world is colorful," she said, tracing her fingers over an image of an ocean sunset. "Our skies are cold crystal. We never knew warmth like this." Ethan chuckled softly. "Trust me, Earth isn't always sunsets and beaches. We've got deserts, frozen tundras, and storms that'll tear you apart." Lyra tilted her head, a small smile flickering. "Yet you remember the beauty. We remember only survival." When she finally lay beside him, she curled up like a fragile bird, her crystalline ridges catching the dim light. Ethan felt the strangeness of it, the surreal reality of sharing a bed with someone who, days earlier, would have considered him an enemy. Sleep did not come easily. Instead, they spoke in hushed tones. Lyra told him of her people. The Veari lived in vast crystal cities beneath mountains, their culture built on precision, order, and hierarchy. They admired strength, despised weakness, and saw emotions as dangerous distractions. But she had always been different. "I was mocked for my softness," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "They said I was fragile, unfit for battle. But when the war drums called, I went anyway." "And now you're here," Ethan replied, "on a human warship, asking a soldier to let you sleep beside him." Life's got a sense of humor. She smiled faintly. Perhaps. Or perhaps life wanted me to see that not all humans are monsters. Hours passed, and in that fragile bubble of shared honesty, the walls of centuries-old hatred began to crack. But not everyone approved. The next day, Ethan's commanding officer noticed Lyra's improved state. Her trembling had lessened, her eyes brighter. Suspicion fell on Ethan, and whispers circulated. He was warned to keep his distance. Yet that night, when the door hissed open again, Lyra stood there once more. "I dreamed again," she said, her voice desperate. "Please let me stay." And he did. Middle conflict, bonds against orders. As days turned into weeks, their midnight conversations deepened. Lyra learned of Earth's music, its flawed history, and its resilience. Ethan, in turn, learned that beneath her crystalline skin was a heart that longed for freedom, not conquest. The line between duty and compassion blurred. Ethan knew he was risking his career, even his freedom, by allowing these secret meetings. But each night she came, and each night he found it harder to imagine refusing her. Until the day everything changed. The ship intercepted a transmission from Vayari Command. An ambush fleet was mobilizing. The captain demanded information from Lyra, but she gave none. Suspicion grew. Some believed she was a spy. Ethan confronted her that night, his tone sharper than usual. "They think you're feeding them information. If you don't say something, they'll," he trailed off, not wanting to finish the thought. Lyra's eyes shimmered with pain. "I have no fleet. No command. I was cast out long before the war reached me. The ship you destroyed carried exiles like me, those deemed too weak to serve. We were fleeing, not fighting." The truth hit Ethan like a pulse of plasma fire. She wasn't a warrior. She wasn't a spy. She was a refugee, caught in a storm neither side cared to understand. "Then I'll tell them," he said firmly. She shook her head. "They will not believe you. But you believe me, and that is enough." Climax, the attack. The Dauntless never reached its base. The Vayari fleet found them first. Plasma fire lit up the void as alarms blared through the corridors. The ship rocked violently, bulkheads sealing as enemy fire tore through the hull. In the chaos, Ethan rushed to Lyra's chamber. The guards had already abandoned their posts to defend the ship. Inside, she cowered, her luminous eyes reflecting the flashing red lights. "Come on," Ethan urged, grabbing her hand. "We're getting out of here." They sprinted through smoke-filled corridors, dodging falling debris and sparks. At one point, a blast door sealed shut behind them, cutting off the path back to the barracks. The only way left was toward the escape pods. "Ethan," she gasped, struggling to keep pace. "Why are you saving me?" He didn't answer immediately, his breath ragged. Finally, he said, "Because you asked me to let you sleep beside me, not as an enemy, but as someone who trusted me. I can't betray that." Her grip on his hand tightened. They reached the escape pods just as another explosion rocked the ship. Ethan shoved her inside, but when he tried to follow, the console flickered, damaged. Only one launch capsule remained operational. "Go," he shouted. "No." Her voice cracked with desperation. "Not without you. Lyra, listen to me." But she refused, her crystalline ridges glowing fiercely. "If you die here, then so do I. I will not leave you." In that moment, as fire consumed the corridor, Ethan realized she wasn't asking for safety anymore.